Question is, why did this car not sell? Oh, not this one. That's not for sale. But just in general, the Lancia Stratos. Why did it not really sell as a road car? Well, it's fairly obvious, really, isn't it? It was never really designed to be a road car. It was designed to go rallying. Well, let's start by looking at some of the alternatives at the time. If you're looking for a sports car, bit of fun, the competition, if you like. And of course that spans quite a big price range, which we'll come to later. So, starting at the bottom, in terms of prices, there was the Fiat X1 9, of which I had one. Great little car, by the way. So yes, that weighed in at just over 5k. Obviously the performance was nothing to shout about, but at the same time not a disgrace for such a car. And quite probably the best cheap sports car you could buy at the time. So yeah, 0 to 60 in a little over 10 seconds and top speed of 112 miles an hour apparently. Then of course there was the TR7. I also had one of those. In fact I had two of those, which ironically in this 1975 edition of Car and Driver made the front cover, even though the Stratos was also reviewed in there. A little bit more pricey than the Fiat, but not a lot, and a little bit quicker to 60, not a lot, and barely struggling to get over 100 miles an hour. Moving up a little in the world, you have the kind of base model Porsche 911, apparently weighing in just under 11k, with a 0 to 60 time of just over 8 seconds, and a top speed of over 130. Now we're talking. Obviously there were Carrera GTs and turbos and all kinds of other offerings from Porsche, with a lot better performance and substantially more money too. And moving up again, without getting ridiculous, let's take a Ferrari. Let's look at the 308 GT4. That was about that era. Another Gandini design. That weighed in at over 24k. Mind you, it was sub 7 seconds to 60. That's a hell of a tongue twister. You can imagine how many takes that took. And a top speed of over 150 miles an hour. Now we're getting really serious. See? Pays your money, takes your choices. And then of course there was a Lotus Esprit. I had one of those too. Apparently the S1, the Lotus Esprit S1, was 20,000 bucks. That seems a lot of money. Anyway, that's the figure I found. It also rocketed to 60 miles an hour in under 7 seconds, 6.8 to be precise. Same as the GT4 and the Stratos. We'll get to that. And with a top speed of 138, not quite hitting the 150 of the Ferrari. So, just looking at the numbers, how did the Stratos stack up to what else was around? Well, it was by no means cheap, weighing in at 16.5 grand. Quite a lot of money. Obviously, price-wise, it's right in the middle there. Not as cheap as the bottom end, obviously, and not as expensive as the Ferrari or the Lotus. There were cheaper 911s, according to what I found out, but again, not really the same kind of performance for them. So probably to get a 911 with equivalent performance, it probably would have been more than the Stratos. So, it was kind of good value. Well, certainly in terms of performance and, of course, racing heritage. None of the others had any of that. Well, I guess the 911 did. So, bottom line, the Stratos was quick. I mean, it was right up there with the Ferrari and the Esprit and probably the 911 Turbo, to be honest. Probably a little bit slower than that. But right there on the acceleration, top speed, quite incredible actually. I don't think it was that fast. But there you go, nearly 150 miles an hour. So why was it stuck in the showroom? Why was nobody really buying it as a road car? I'm guessing a substantial amount of the sales were to other race teams who wanted to enjoy the same success on the rally circuits, which is why there's probably not so many left nowadays. And it's not even really down to build quality. I mean, for example, the TR7 wasn't great. I mean, probably better build quality than the Lancia. The Esprit, obviously the S1. So, not really that. Yes, it borrowed all sorts of bits from the Fiat parts bin, like the indicator stalks and stuff like that. But so did the Ferrari. As of course did Lamborghini, but we haven't included them in this. And of course Lotus famously robbed parts from the Marina and Rover and all kinds of other cars. So that wasn't the problem. Well, I think it boils down to two main factors. Well, I think everyone that bought an X1 or a TR7 would have given their high teeth to get hold of a Lancia Stratos, but couldn't afford it. Now, I think the people that could afford it would rather have a Porsche 911 or a Ferrari. I'm not quite sure whether Lotus fits into all that, but there we go. So I think that's mainly it, actually. But here's why, right? Because if you're going to spend $15,000, you don't really want stuff like this. You don't really want rubber catches that hold the bonnet on. Not very pretty, are they? I mean, they're cool if you're into rallying, but if you're into a fairly expensive two-seater sports car in the 70s, you probably didn't want to see that. That, of course, brings us on to the most ridiculous thing. Yes, the window winders. You don't want those, do you? You probably want electric windows for $15,000. You probably want a little more legroom as well. Though if you bought a Lamborghini Countach, you were in trouble as well. And even that dashboard's a little bit contrived, isn't it, really? Let's face it. And let's face it, the interior's pretty sparse. No centre console. I don't even know if they came with a radio, did they? But yeah, no electric windows, obviously. Yeah. So all in all, price-wise, they're kind of bang in the middle and satisfying neither market, really. And anyone who did have that kind of middle money is bound to go for something like the Porsche 911 in the lower end of its spec. So in summary, yes, a lot of these sat in showrooms, never sold. A lot of them were bought by other race teams. I'd be interested to know, if anyone does know, how many of the original Stratos are actually left. I think the number I have that they actually built was 473, 476, something like that. I mean, a lot of those must have got trashed rallying, right? I mean, totaled. Every now and then, one or bits of one turn up in some European farmyard as a chicken roost or whatever. All quite sad, really. Anyway, on that sad note, it's come to the end of the episode. So if you thought it was any good, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, subscribe down here somewhere. Oh, and by the way, if any of the numbers I've included in this this video are horrendously wrong, I'm sorry, they're the best I could find. If you know any better, please do leave a comment with a correction. And of course, encourage others to watch my lunacy.